On America's Roundtable, we are truly honored and privileged to host Mario Andretti today. Mario Andretti is one of the most celebrated race car drivers in history and a defining figure in American motorsports. Born in Italy and raised in the United States, Andretti became known for his extraordinary versatility across nearly every major form of racing. He won the Indianapolis 500, the Daytona 500, the Formula One World Championship, and 4 INDYCAR national championships, making him one of the few drivers to achieve elite success across open wheel, stock car, sports car, and Formula One racing. His career spanned 5 decades with 111 major victories, and his name has become synonymous with speed, excellence, and the American dream. Mario Andretti, welcome to America's Roundtable.
Thank you, Natasha and Joel. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's so great to see you. Thank you for joining us on America's Roundtable.
Mario, Joel, our son David, and I greatly enjoy our visits to your place of birth in Montona. Your and my birthplaces are just 40 miles away. Montona, which is today's Motovun, to Fiume, which is today's Rijeka.
Yes.
Yeah, we were delighted to spend time. Go ahead.
What, you are from Fiume?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, Rijeka. Yes, I learned that you're from that region, so we were neighbors there, basically.
That's right.
Yeah,
we were delighted to spend time in a new museum in Montona, which is dedicated to you.
I know, it's small. Yeah, that's really neat. I know you're the first one actually that I know that they visited that, but I'm sure for others.
Right, and we heard the stories of your first racing experiences at age of 8, I believe, down the hill of the steep roads in Montona. Mario, your life is a true American dream story. Could you kindly share with us about your journey from your native Italy to America and living the American dream?
Well, actually, yes, I'm very proud, and I love to talk about that because I said this many times that I am a true example of what the American dream is about because, as you just mentioned, my passion and my brother Aldo, my twin brother, began, I don't know why, in Montona. We didn't have a car there, but all of a sudden we just wanted to race down the hill, from Barbacan down in front of my house, to the Borgo. And then when we went to, we were in a refugee camp in Lucca after the war, then the same thing, Formula One became very, very popular. Well, of course, in Italy, everything started because Alfa Romeo and Farina were the first ones to win an official world championship race in Formula One. And then the first Italian world champion, Alberto Ascari, which was at the young age, when I was a teenager. So again, the dream began there because in 1954, some friends took Aldo and I to Monza to see the Italian Grand Prix. And that's where all the hero of the moment, were competing. And from there on, there was no plan B. The impossible dream was in place, but it was that impossible dream if you would have stayed there. So by coming to America, that we arrived here on a Thursday in June, and on a Sunday afternoon, we were at my uncle's house and just lounging, and all of a sudden we see lights in the background and a roar of engines. Aldo and I looked at each other. We ran, we followed the noise, and we arrived. There was a racing, it's a local racing at the local track. And Aldo and I looked at each other. Well, this is not Formula One, but it looks very doable. 2 years later, we started building our own car, race car, to race there. So again, talk about the American dream and the opportunities. Only here we could have achieved that. And I've been so blessed because, one thing's after another, just we're going in the right direction. And ultimately, I had the opportunity to satisfy my ultimate dream, which was right from the beginning to drive and win the world championship in Formula One. So, and drive and also drove for Ferrari, won many races there. Won my first Formula One race in South Africa with a Ferrari. So a lot of those things just all of a sudden just happened. And again, there's one thing that my father used to say. He was at the age, obviously, probably my age now, but he used to say, Mario, it's a shame that you have to die in America, because he wanted to live. He says, it's so wonderful here. And, it's a shame that you have to die. He knew that that's coming sooner or later for him. So there was a statement that really said something, about what we're experiencing here, how fortunate we are to live in this land. And now, of course, celebrated 250th anniversary of this beautiful country. And then looking back, how proud we are. I have you have who's America named after? Amerigo Vespucci.
Yes.
And the Colombo. So, here we got I get this this paper here. And like I said, how proud are we, instead of individual like Columbus, Christopher Columbus, you got Amerigo Vespucci, Giovanni Caboto, some of these. And like I said, we have, as Italians, we contributed.
Right.
Yes. Absolutely. That is so true. And you have been a pioneer, a legend in the sports racing arena. I think that as we look back on history, we look at individuals like yourself taking risks and being a person of courage and integrity and bringing so much to the sport. And the INDYCAR DC Grand Prix 2026 marks a historic entry for the NTT INDYCAR Series, bringing high-speed open-wheel racing to a location that has never before hosted a motor race on its streets, the National Mall in Washington, D.C. And it appears that Roger Penske and the team have wanted to bring the Indy to D.C. for some time, along with you and others. And officials have framed the event as part of America's 250th birthday celebration, a weekend designed to showcase speed, spectacle, and national pride. And the inaugural Freedom 250 Grand Prix of Washington, D.C. is planned for August 21 to 23, 2026, with a climax on Sunday, August 23. And Mario, you've always been an ambassador for American motorsports. You've raced through so many defining moments in the history of sports racing, truly a unique form of competition in which athletes and machines perform as one, and where courage meets innovation. As INDYCAR prepares to race through the heart of the nation's capital during America's 250th birthday celebration, what does that moment represent to you personally? What do you hope fans in America and around the world take away from it? And what message do you think this event sends about the sport's place in American culture?
Well, again, I don't think I can even express, how proud we are, to have had this opportunity. Actually, I kudos to Roger Penske for trying to present this to our president, President Trump, as to a great idea of celebrating our major discipline of the sport, which includes INDYCAR racing. We know that how the value, historic value of the Indy 500, which they already have celebrated. We're up to the 109th running of that particular race, and there's a series tied to it, and now it's going to be a one-time, one-time event in Washington, as you say, on a street circuit, as you see, which geographically I look at the circuit. It's going to be very, very competitive. I think I'm impressed actually at the geography of it, and we can't wait. Looking so forward to being there, and what a better way to celebrate the 250th anniversary of this country with an INDYCAR race at the Capitol.
Right.
Yes.
You see, things don't get any better than that for us.
That's amazing. And Mario, we were greatly inspired by reading your letter to my younger self, which you wrote at the age of 76. And we would encourage our listeners to go seek that letter. And with your permission, we would love to put it on our website. And in this must-read letter, you said, and I quote, "One of the most important pieces of advice I can give to you, Mario, is to never give up on your dream. Never settle, not for second place, not for anything less than being a world champion, like Alberto Ascari. Don't have a plan B. You're just out there and don't have any reservations because everything you dream of will happen to you." Unquote. Mario, how did that advice to never give up, never settle, and have no plan B, and you mentioned it before, plan B, how did it shape your journey from a young dreamer to a world champion? And what is your advice to a new generation of dreamers?
Well, obviously, you could see that I was purely driven by passion and love for what I wanted to do. And again, even when it comes to potential discouragement, even in the sport, we started racing with my brother. And we didn't dare tell my dad because my dad had the natural protective feeling, as a father, because the sport in those decades was not very, very kind. At times, it was actually rather cruel, because we were losing the drivers every year. Top drivers, unfortunately, was not as safe, and but still never deterred by that negative. It was like I said, I technically, realistically, I think there could have been many roadblocks. There are many reasons for me, not to really say, okay, maybe takes too much risk, too much this, too much that. But I overcame all of that because I refused to dwell on the potential negatives, which were like, I was losing friends and so on and so forth. So nothing deterred me. The point I'm making, and my advice is, always said that if you really have this feeling about passion about something, go for it. Go for it no matter what the problems that you think you may have to face, you're going to overcome it. Just keep working at it because it worked out for me. Like I said, not everything was, the road was not always paved, is what I'm saying. A lot of bumps on the road, but I never allowed that to deter me. But today, I challenge anyone to have more love and passion for the sport than I do, maybe as much, but nowhere near. There's no way that anyone will love the sport more than I do.
Indeed, Mario. You worked with innovative engineering, driving for Team Lotus. You played a central role during the development of the groundbreaking Lotus 78 and Lotus 79. These cars actually pioneered the effective use of ground effect aerodynamics, which dramatically increased cornering speeds and reshaped Formula One car design for years to come. And although engineers such as Colin Chapman led the technical innovation, your driving skills helped demonstrate the competitive potential of this technology. Mario, you were behind the wheel as the Lotus 78 and 79, introducing this ground effect aerodynamics to the world. When you first drove these cars, what convinced you that they weren't just faster, but were going to change and revolutionize the future of motorsport?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I'll start with this. That what really kept me really fascinated and totally interested in the sport is that during the decades that I was active, there were so many innovations because there was so much to be learned yet about it, and the progression was how do we make the car go faster, and one of the most powerful aspects of that is aerodynamic downforce to glue the car to the ground. It's the opposite of what you do to an airplane. An airplane needs lift to fly, and we need that same force to go down, to be glued to the ground. I was part of that. The new development of ground effects. With Colin Chapman, and some of it was we reached by accident almost, but we were able to identify it. There was a test in Germany that really brought this thing to life in so many ways because of what I felt during the test in Hockenheim, and again, then we started developing more and more, and as you say, the ground effects aspect in our sport changed the performance of at every category of the sport. It's for as far as driving performance. So again, all of these things were something that I kept to me waiting for the new car was almost like a father waiting for a new baby. And now I kept saying that baby that whenever was born it wasn't always the best looking baby. Sometimes like cross-eyed and one leg shorter than the other, because not every race car was better. But you still look forward to it, and then you look forward to making it better and better. But we were learning so much, and again, all of that also psychologically played, in thinking that the more that I know, the easier it will be for me, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean?
Right.
It gives you confidence type of thing, and the thing that I was fortunate about is the fact that I experienced the evolution into the modern side, of the computer telemetry. I drove the very first race car with telemetry at the proving ground test in Detroit with Ford and INDYCAR, where we could actually give information back to the pits as to what the car was doing while it was running, obviously, which is what you get today. But again, I was part of so many firsts in that respect that it kept me alive, just kept me wanting more and more, and that's why I think probably today I have more appreciation for where we are today because I know where we came from. You see,
Right.
and so again, it's sometimes I say my driving style, it would be perfect for today because I was not very patient, and then I was many times accused by the engineer of taking too much out of the car. Maybe at the beginning I should have been more patient. Patience was not my virtue, but today the way the rules are, you can go out there and just flat out, 10 tenths from the beginning. That's the way it would have worked for me. So in one way, I wish I would be driving today. And on the other side, I know that I like the fact that I know where we came from and where we are. And I have a more appreciation for where we are.
Right. And Mario, in your letter to my younger self, you also share about your dangers or the dangers of racing, which drew you to the sport. The idea of pushing the limits of the car, the track, and yourself. And you said, and I quote, "It's the pure adrenaline of pushing those limits that captures you. The greater the speed, the greater the risk, the greater the rush," unquote. And Mario, you had an amazing, long, successful racing career without suffering any major injuries along the way. Looking back, how would you explain being able to compete at such a high level for so many years while avoiding major injury? Was it preparation, instinct, discipline, faith, divine protection, or perhaps a combination of all of them?
Divine protection, trust me. I mean, it's sometimes I explain to myself, why was I spared? And in discussions, I've had so many close. I can point two or three where, for a split second, it could have been the end. Yet I was spared. And so I don't know how you explain that, except for, like I said, my uncle priest up there, Don Quirino. He knew our passion because back when we were still back home, we thought that we were going to start racing in motorcycles first because it was a lot easier to get. And I said to my uncle priest, we were going to be able to somehow figure out to provide one. So he knew that we had this thing in us. So he protected me all along, and I feel, quite honestly, and again, you cannot explain why I got away with so much because I drove competitive in just shy of 900 races in my life, and I only missed 2 races throughout my career because of injury. And so I've been spared, and that's a blessing in itself, and I don't take it for granted, trust me, because I lost some of my closest friends, in the sport. And as I say, we're enjoying great moments today because the sport, it's not only the performance side of it, but the safety side has been dealt with vigorously. And this gives today's drivers the best opportunity ever to retire on their own terms, which is, I needed to happen, but, as you say, there were, through those periods, if you dwelled on that potential negative, there's no way that you could exist. And I had so much love and passion for it that nothing was going to stand in my way. I felt responsibility I had a young family. We married, Deanne and I married very young. I was 21, she was 19. And we had our first child, at the following year, and with 3 children, young children, I felt the responsibility. And she was not a race fan, believe it or not, but she knew what she was getting into. She had to, and she knew what I needed to have. So never made me feel guilty. Oh, Mario, how can you go out there and take so many risks and so forth? You have a family. Never that. Never. Never made me feel that way. And that was And I realize now how important that was for me to be able to exist and do my job properly. But there were so many elements there that worked for me, and people that maybe at the time I didn't really appreciate how important they were for the way they were looking at the situation, and without even maybe not saying anything, they were helping me, to be honest with you. And my wife was a true rock in this respect. You know that she was again the one that kept me serene, if you will, throughout my career. And there's so many things that could have just taken it, in a negative way, but none of that existed. I didn't do this alone. Trust me. This is a truly a team sport. There's so many moving parts here, and I have lifetime friendships throughout the world of individuals that we work together, we race together, and it's amazing how we bond through something that we so much believe in, and we all derive the same satisfaction when we're successful. My biggest actually joy was to be able to come in and on the last lap of a winning race and seeing the smiles and the mechanics that worked their butts off, to give me a car that was capable, and seeing them enjoying it as much as I did, all of that,
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
That's
Mario,
amazing.
your name, Mario Andretti, is synonymous with being the pioneer, the legend, and you've become one of the defining figures in American motorsport. What do you think racing says about the American spirit of innovation, determination, and possibility, that nothing is impossible?
Well, that's really exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, it's when you're driven by passion, you really believe in something, then you pursue it, and whatever roadblocks there are somewhere, you know that you're going to be able to deal with it and surpass it. It's amazing what burning desire does, how valuable, how strong that is, and as I said, but then, but the other part is, I don't think you can achieve more satisfaction than when you really totally accomplish something that's got so many challenges. Anybody, like I said this a million times. I don't have much time for people that mediocrity is something that I have no respect for because it's too convenient.
Right.
Too convenient, and I always say, if everything seems under control, you're just not going fast enough. And that not only works in motorsports, works in business as well. There's a risk to take for something that's above average. There's always a risk. And you're either willing to do it, willing to take it, or you're not. If you're not, then okay, everything's okay. No, not. There's no ambition there.
Right.
All about ambition. What makes you happy? Yes, doing something that not everybody can. You'd at least like to feel not everybody can do.
Right. Right.
Even psychological, but you like to feel that way.
That's right. That's right. And Mario, you escaped communist Yugoslavia rule, and I lived in Yugoslavia, and your family lost 2,100 acres of land. And even today, in modern Croatia, there are remnants of the communist era that are evident in certain practices involving the treatment and manipulation of private land ownership by local governments and politicians. And Mario, given what your family experienced, what message would you share with our fellow Americans about the dangers of communism?
Oh my goodness! I mean, this is a huge issue that is so misunderstood because when politicians when they start talking about communism, well, what's appealing, it's easy to sell communism because everything's free. Everything, like I said, you don't have to excel in anything, because you don't really have control of your life, full control of your life. And but then like us, as you say, as soon as Istria became occupied by Tito, Yugoslavia, we didn't own hardline communism. We didn't own anything. We didn't own the 2,100 acres. Technically, the state owned it, and you worked for the state at that point, and you got maybe food stamps, such as something like that. So again, it takes all of the individual, the drive that a person naturally would have. It doesn't work. It doesn't work there. And again, I go crazy when we're talking about in a country such as this, where you have politicians speaking about socialism and communism, where people from all over the world leave,
Exactly.
escape from those, from
Abs-
again, it's almost like they have to try, but then why screw up something that's so beautiful here?
Yeah.
Just to prove a point. You know what I mean? It's like, oh man, I don't know how to make that point, quite honestly, but it drives me crazy, to see that. And a lot of the young people, like that they don't know any better, so they're all looking for the easy way out. They think, yeah, this is the easy way out. Yeah, you wait. It's easy today, but 3 days from now, it's all over. So please. That's one area that drives me crazy.
Yeah. Likewise, we have to talk about it in another program in detail.
Yes.
And Mario, after a lifetime spent chasing speed and excellence, what's the most important lesson you've learned about living a meaningful life, not as a race car driver, but as a human being?
Well, it's actually, like I said, pursuing your dreams and enjoy, obviously what's important to me. I was able to combine both, just keep the family together. We've traveled the world together. My kids still talking about being on the Concorde, for instance, because it does the decades when I was flying back and forth to Europe, on the Concorde. I said, okay, kids, you go with me on this trip. And I used to take the kids even not always, the whole family, but sometimes just one at a time. They were just at the age where they were beginning to enjoy it. And so I always try to make the best of it. And luckily with the sport, I was, pretty involved in everything. And I was able to afford an airplane. I bought a private airplane so I could have the family with me. I don't care where I race in the United States. They could be in school the next morning and everything. So I tried to have the family be part of it all. And I guess that's part of the reason why the kids pursue that as well. That between Aldo and I, there are 8 race drivers in this family.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yes, because that so many events, the sport has been so good for us, even as a family, because I'll just give you a couple of examples. That in 1991 and 92, there were 4 of us, 4 of the same family that qualified for the Indianapolis 500, which never happened before or since, to have 4 members of the same family in that race. And then there were championship races where Michael and I have been on the podium 15 times in the national championship race, and 10 times the front row and 5 times first and second. There was there was one race in Milwaukee, championship race, where was Michael was first, my nephew John was second, I was third. 3 Andretti's on podium.
Amazing.
You know, it's the 1986 Pocono 500. There was the main race, and then there was a supporting event. The supporting event was my younger son, Jeffrey, driving. He was on pole for that race, which was on a Saturday, and won that race. Michael was on pole for the 500. I won the 500, you know, the big race the next day. Between the three of us, we won. And my daughter sang the national anthem for that race.
Amazing. That's so inspiring indeed. It is incredible. And the truth of the matter is that your life, your legacy, your commitment to faith, family, and our country really inspires us. And you're not just a hero, but you're an inspiring leader. And we truly commend you for your integrity and for what you have given not only to the sport itself, car racing, but to America, and inspiring us all, as America is a country of immigrants. And those that come to this country, immigrants legally, that invest in this country, that contribute to its success. And you are certainly a testament to that. And what is your message on this 250th anniversary about the freedoms we enjoy, but also the responsibility to make sure that we preserve these freedoms for future generations?
Well, all you can do is just speak up. Again, whenever the opportunities are, like I said, to be able to reason out, you know, what we know, because we've seen what the other side is like. If you've not experienced that, obviously you have no way of knowing, you know. But like I said, you only have, any of us have only so much reach, and you wish you could have a wider reach, you know. But whenever possible, I always speak my piece, you know, and say just be careful what you wish for sometimes. You know, inform yourself better before you make a lot of these decisions. And again, that's all I can say, because I know how good this is, and we don't want to mess it up.
Amen to that. We
Amen.
appreciate
I know how
that.
good this country is. Let's not screw it up.
Yes. On America's Roundtable, we're truly honored and privileged to host Mario Andretti today. Mario Andretti is one of the most celebrated race car drivers in history and a defining figure in American motorsports. Thank you so much, Mario, for joining us today. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Mario.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. I enjoy this very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Happy birthday, America.
Absolutely.
America.
How do we say that in Italian then?
Buon compleanno, America.
Buon compleanno, America.
That's good.